Today, we want to talk about brand and brand marketing in the context of search and SEO. And I think that's a very interesting topic because historically, many people do not associate SEO work with brand and branding, and that's changing rapidly right now. And so I'm excited to be here with Helene from my wonderful team at Flow Agency. She's our director of SEO and knows everything about the future of search. And we're going to be dissecting this trend. My name is Viola. And I would like us to get started in understanding what does brand and brand entity mean in the context of search and LLMs.
Sure, yeah. Becoming an entity, a branded entity, means that you are a defined person, place, thing, business. If you think about how systems like search or even AI understand the world, they use what is called a knowledge graph. And so this knowledge graph is a web of everything in the world. And it would be, okay, you are Flow Agency, you are an entity. What does Flow Agency do? Flow Agency does SEO, performance marketing. Who founded Flow Agency? Viola. Viola is also an entity, specific person who has done things, published, author, founder of an agency. And so those are very distinctive brands or people, those are proper nouns. I think this is also a nice way to think about that. So thinking about a person, place, or thing, how does it fit into that knowledge, that web that Google is using? How does it understand? Who do you service? What do you offer? Is it correct? And so your brand is not just isolated as a brand name, but instead connected by all the things about you, who founded you, what you stand for, and what you offer.
And how come that all the SEOs are talking about brands specifically in 2025? What has changed in search over the last year or two that makes it a necessity to talk about this right now?
AI. AI is another algorithm that is sort of put on top of search in some cases. If we're talking about AI overview or AI mode, even using ChatGPT has Bing search put in with their AI algorithm. And what we have is multiple knowledge graphs then. ChatGPT has their own knowledge graph. Bing is going to have their own knowledge graph, and understanding and connecting the dots. Who are you? What is your website? What are you offering? This is becoming more and more important, especially if someone is going to ChatGPT and they want to make a purchasing decision. They're like, I really need a time tracking tool at work. I'm going to go to ChatGPT and ask who is the best time tracking tool for small companies. And it will bring up all of these different brands. And that is how it's understanding what is a brand. Is it an entity? Is it connected? Does it have a URL? Does it have a LinkedIn profile? Is it appearing on the review sites? So understanding that you exist and that you have like a web, a network on the internet that is confirming that you exist and you are who you say you are.
So today we're going to talk about how we can influence this, how we can communicate what our brand is. Just to zoom out for 1 minute, the reason why this all really matters is because also user behavior is changing a lot right now. People are using ChatGPT a lot more, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. And what we've seen in our own agency and our own work is that more and more marketers and executives feel the need to appear in LLMs. Because that's sort of like where their customers and ICP is going. And as we are learning about LLMs and how they work, one big part is how do they talk about us the right way in our most up-to-date messaging, in our most up-to-date product category. And then how do we increase the visibility in that? And so I think the more people use the LLMs, use Google AI Overview, AI Mode, ChatGPT, the more the need to sort of like reverse engineer some of that and make sure that our brands are visible. What can we actually measure? And when we talk about gaining more visibility or getting brand alignment, what are we really optimizing for? What are we looking to improve?
We're looking to improve our visibility and being mentioned. So if you are talking about AI Overview, AI Mode, ChatGPT, what we see there are citations and brand mentions. So if they're going to mention your brand or if they're going to cite your website as a source that informed their answer. And so those are the two things I think that we're measuring the most in this moment. How often are you mentioned as a brand? How often are you recommended by these systems? And how often you're appearing as a source?
And with our clients, we've talked a lot about aligning your digital footprint, because one thing that happens with all of these LLM and AI technologies is they never generate their answer based on just one source. They always generate it from a variety of sources. And so we need that alignment across different web properties, our own website, our social media profiles, review sites, all these things. And so maybe we can go through them one by one real quick, telling people what the vision is and how to get that alignment. And so maybe getting started on the website, the web property that you have the most control over and that's the easiest to influence and change. What should people be doing there?
They should be making their website crawlable, easy to read. I mean, also for bots, but also for people. Making it clear that your brand is reflected, the right logo. There's a lot of startups who maybe are switching their name, switching their logo, and they're switching this out, and there's some inconsistencies. We want to make sure that's completely consistent. We want to make sure that you have pages on your website that are answering questions about your brand. When were you formed? Who works there? Who do you serve? What are you offering? Even something as simple as having a reviews page, a pricing page. People are going to be asking, how much does your software cost? And typically a lot of software companies don't like to put a pricing page. They want to put it behind a sales call, which makes sense in some instances, but I think that people are still curious about this, and you're allowing other people to control that narrative. And so creating that content, the branded content alongside of the non-branded, is going to help you shape the narrative of how these systems understand who you are.
The other thing that we've been doing with our clients is also doing some content pruning and content cleanup. Now is a great time to get rid of your dead weight. If you had a different positioning or you played in a different product category in the past and you have a lot of this content, or maybe you had an acquisition, merged the websites, now there's all this stuff. And so now it's not a matter of size, it's also a matter of like quality, specificity, being up to date, being original. And so I think it's a great time to run a content audit and see what to get rid of and what to update.
Especially those old blog posts that were published in 2015. That might have 2 paragraphs, very old school style blogging. A lot of people typically thought, oh, well, Google doesn't really bring those up. They don't rank. It's okay that they're there. AI does not care about this, and AI will serve that content to people if it matches their question.
Exactly. And we had a few clients that actually didn't struggle so much with visibility, but they had visibility, but they had them for the wrong topics. And so that cleanup is one of it. The other thing that I want to call out is getting alignment on web properties that you sort of control. So what I mean by that is your LinkedIn company page, your YouTube channel, also review sites. To varying degree you can control. Of course, the sort of like layout of the page is a given. They always have the same format. But easy things, you want to make sure you have the right logo, you have the right spelling of your brand name, you have the same boilerplate description. And now, even though it's the end of the year, it's a great time for spring cleaning and making sure that all these web properties have the same description, the same alignment, the most up-to-date links to your website, and shape a cohesive vision as to who you are and what you stand for. I think next we sort of like getting less and less sort of like control. I'm curious, people talk a lot right now, for example, about listicles and being featured on other people's websites. What can we do here and why is it relevant?
Yeah, it's very, very relevant. AI systems tend to love listicles. It's a hot trend right now. And so appearing on those for your category, your industries, your product, different features, it definitely will be useful in improving your visibility inside these AI systems. But I will say it can be a bit of a challenge. Getting on a listicle is not as easy as getting a backlink. It takes a lot more effort. It's a lot more negotiation. Sometimes it's pay to play. And also it's a matter of, do you have listicles on your site? Like if you've never published a best of blog post listing your competitors, listing, your peers, why would they include you on their list? And so there might be a sort of 2 side of it. You need to create something to be able to offer them a placement so that then they will also reciprocate that.
I think the reason why people like listicles or why they matter a lot is, of course, they are software, app, platform, very transactional, high intent keywords. And I think that's one avenue to get visibility for that. Another avenue is actually multimedia content. Over the last year or two, we see a lot more video in search. It gets pulled into classic search. It gets pulled into AI overview. We see videos in LLMs. And so what are your thoughts on multimedia content, video, images, and podcasts, and what role do they play?
Oh, that's fun. So I love all forms of content, always have, even though I'm an SEO at heart, and we love our blog posts, but I also really love video, audio formats, podcasts, and other things. And I think that they're very valuable because if you think about how different people accept information, understand information, we're all different. We all have different learning styles and ways that things make sense to us. And I think diversifying your content is then allowing you to diversify who you can reach, different people, and also to allow you to have more real estate on page one. For example, if you are ranking really well for a particular keyword, you're on page one with your blog post, but you also see that there's videos at the top of the screen. Well, why not have a video? Then you're actually there twice. And then maybe there's like some images or there's questions, like you can be there multiple times. And so I think that creating that content that's in different formats is allowing you to reach a more diverse group of people. It's spreading your message even further. And it's not that you have to create anything new. You can take the content that you have and repurpose it into these other platforms.
Last thing to touch upon on this is sort of like the tie-in of SEO and digital PR. I think historically, I don't know if you agree, but I've thought about them somewhat as two different disciplines where SEO is very interested in a backlink that is from a high domain rating site with the right anchor text. It was almost a bit technical. And I think PR is much more narrative driven. It's much probably bigger brands, bigger publishers, great newspapers, right? It's also very relationship based, getting featured. But now we can see that, of course, digital PR is getting some phenomenal placements on very high authority sites. And so there's this opportunity, even simple stuff is, again, aligning taglines, aligning bios, and just making sure that if you get a phenomenal placement on Entrepreneur Inc., Forbes, TechCrunch, etc., that again, you have that alignment, you have the same tagline that you're using across all these other web properties as well. Now, if you're getting a little bit scared right now, just know that I think a lot of our clients are feeling the same. A lot of startups have small marketing teams. They need to be very effective with their time. And we just touched on a lot of different things. We touched on website update and cleanup. We talked about social media update and cleanup, review sites update and cleanup. We talked about digital PR. We talked about listicles. There's probably something to be said about forums as well. And so all of a sudden there's like so many things that we could be doing, but there's only so many hours that we have in our workday. And so where should people get started?
I would start with the things that you can control the most. So first, your website. Second, your social platforms, your review sites, and aligning all of that. I believe it could be quite simple. It's you write it up once or twice, and then it's sort of a copy paste across. Then assessing what kind of resources you have. Do you have someone on your team who maybe has experience with video or podcasting? Because it is a whole new set of skills to learn as a creator, a lot of more technical things that you need to do. And so maybe it's not the right time for you to dive into video. You just don't have the person in front of the camera or behind the camera. In that case, you can actually just try to appear on other people's videos. So it's not necessarily that you need to create your own, but appear on those podcasts that are relevant and popular. Appear on those listicle YouTube videos that, you know, are talking and comparing software brands, but you don't necessarily need to make the video. And so I think there are ways that you can get resourceful, you can repackage your content and help other people to include it into their content.
I think that's really important. And one thing we talked about with the team a lot is the space of optimization just get a lot bigger. Things that we could be looking at get a lot bigger than maybe historically we thought about content and links. And now we're thinking about all these other things as well. But I think the main thing is remaining focused. And rather than trying to do 10 things and then not getting around to doing them or doing them badly, maybe start chipping away at one thing. Like Helene's been saying, I think websites, social profiles, and review sites, app store listings, the stuff is like a great stuff to get started with. And just start chipping away at this. And maybe once you have the first channel sort of like dialed in, maybe that's video, you can open another one. But it doesn't make sense to open a graveyard of social media profiles, Reddit threads, and Reddit subreddits right now that you can't maintain and upkeep. And so you're better off choosing one or two things, chipping away at them, doing them well, and then expanding over time. If you're interested in brand visibility in the context of SEO, feel free to check out all the other videos in this series. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us as well. And lastly, if you just can't get enough about SEO and geo information, we have a monthly newsletter that's in the box below that you can check out as well.